Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the John Peckman Podcast. We're live here at the ConnValley School of Music and Dance in Portland. And with us this evening is our drum instructor here at the school, Mr. Bryan Caudle. So, Bryan, how are you?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're stuck with me tonight. Unfortunately, John had a death in the family, and his mother-in-law, Paula's mom, passed away today. So our condolences to go out with John and Paula, and we're thinking of them anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And so forth. But thanks for coming over on short notice, and we'll keep the ball rolling here. Go from there. So anyway, so how have you been? All right?
Been okay. You know, this whole virus has been difficult for everybody, I think.
Oh, it definitely has. It definitely has. I think it's in. In fact, I posted on our website. You know, the entertainment industry has suffered unbelievably.
Absolutely.
You know, and it trickles down. You know, from the musicians to the clubs to the sound people. You look at Broadway. I mean, the stage people, the costume people, you name it, and it's. It just doesn't end, you know. So,
no, definitely.
Yeah, and now with this new variant that's come out here with the Omicron, it's scary. It really is. So anyway, I've been vaccinated and had my booster shot. And did you get your vaccination?
I'm vaccinated and I'm getting my booster tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I was scheduled to get it last week, but they ran out.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunately still happening, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Bryan, how did your musical journey begin in life? Tell us.
Yeah, I actually started in a fife and drum corps.
Really?
Yeah, when I was 9 years old.
Uh-huh.
So actually, pretty much everybody in my neighborhood was going to join the fife and drum corps when I was 8.
Yep.
And so I was the youngest kid in the neighborhood, so watching all the other kids go off, and I had nobody left to play with.
Ah.
So, you know, I just wanted to be part of the drum corps.
There you go.
So my mother bought me a pair of sticks and a pad, and I was banging away until I was old enough to be able to join the drum corps, and
you're off and rolling.
We're off and rolling.
Now, are you from the Middletown area originally?
Yeah, I grew up in Cromwell.
Oh, okay.
So actually, my family lived here in Portland on Strong Avenue until I was 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I lived right down the road for the first 4 years of my life.
It's amazing. My father, his family's farm was down on the end of Strong's Avenue.
Oh,
it's
nice.
all the way down on the right-hand side, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a small world.
Yeah, so how long was that in the family?
Well, obviously, he... he passed. Both my parents passed away in 1980. So I mean, it was before me, you know. So all I know that, when my siblings were born, the farm was gone. You know, as far as that goes, his parents had passed away, and so forth. So
yeah, we lived there from maybe 1967 till about 71.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. 1971. I graduated high school in 1970. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So, anyway.
But the drum corps was a great experience. That's actually where I had one of my best drum teachers was a gentleman named Jim Clark.
I've heard that name.
Yeah,
okay.
he taught in Portland here.
Yes.
He taught the Portland Fife and Drum Corps.
Yep, before they disbanded and so forth. But there's still quite a few of them around that are playing with other corps and so forth.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. One of the gentlemen, Craig Murphy, that I played with in the Grenadiers, Cromwell Grenadiers, was the name of the Fife and Drum Corps.
Yep.
But he started with the Portland Ancients over here before he came to Cromwell.
Yeah.
After the Portland disbanded.
Yeah. Now we had the McDougal brothers, Pete McDougal.
Absolutely.
Drummers, and they go back a long way, and fine musicians. In fact, one of our teachers here that teaches accordion for us, John Kalinowski. He is been involved in the fife and drum. He grew up in Moodus and so forth, but was part of the Moodus Fife and Drum Corps. Then was with the Chester Fife and Drum Corps. He even did a stint with the Ancient Mariners, so he's been around, and so he teaches fife.
Nice.
In fact, his wife Nancy also teaches fife in the drum course and so forth. But yeah, they've been in the drum corps. In fact, that's how they actually met in the drum course. But yeah, a lot of history here with drum corps in Connecticut for sure.
Definitely, and actually, Jim Clark is he's written a book on Connecticut Civil War era.
Is that right?
Drumming, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No,
so he's got a book out. I think I know he's a doctor. I don't know if he's a doctor of musicology.
Okay.
But I know he got a doctorate from Wesleyan.
Okay.
So I wouldn't doubt if his doctorate is in musicology. I haven't seen him in quite a few years.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that name's still around. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, when did you get into playing convention, popular music and playing set? How did that work?
Well, actually, it was once again through Jim Clark.
Okay.
So, I was just interested in drumming all around, and he didn't just teach fife and drumming, he taught drum set too. Mm-hmm. So I got a drum set and started working with him on the kit.
Okay.
And he's kind of the reason I'm a right-handed person, but I played left-handed drums.
Okay.
So he was a left-handed drummer, and whenever he wanted to demonstrate something for me, we would switch the kit around, and one day he just left the kit set up lefty, and I got behind it, and it felt comfortable, so I kept it that way.
There you go.
I've been playing left-handed ever since.
Well, actually, I think John plays like that because plays backwards. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I know he plays. I've seen him play open. I think he plays on a right-handed kit, but he's lefty.
Yeah.
And he plays with open-handed like that.
Yeah.
I think he's also ambidextrous, so...
Yeah.
I think I've seen him do some right-handed stuff on a right-handed kit. And I'm sure he could probably get on a left-handed kit.
Without a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Without a problem. So anyway, as far as, your education, is that, when did that start? Before high school, during high school, getting into the fife and drum and moving on into the music?
See, I was 9 years old, so that was probably middle school.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So, and then from there, like I said, Jim started teaching me drum set. And my sister had a friend who was a senior in high school when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
And she needed a drummer for a project that she was working on.
Nice.
It was kind of a gifted and talented program.
Uh-huh.
So we went to a recording studio and recorded a bunch of her songs, and that was kind of my first experience playing in a band situation.
Wow.
And I got to make a recording, and her grandfather was a banjo player.
Okay.
And he had a friend who was a violin player.
All right.
And I think I got my first paying gig. They hired me to just play with a snare drum and brushes when I was 15 years old.
Hey.
So I think that was the start of my actual music career.
Well, there you go. Playing for, play the professional thing, when you actually got paid, and I did my first paying gig. I can remember my first paying gig, I think paid $11.
Nice.
And so forth. And that was big money, for Christ's sake,
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was $50 or $100 or something.
Yeah.
That we got, and it's way more than I made delivering papers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you look back in the day, the kids that were working that day, were working at McDonald's. They were getting like $2.25 an hour or something like that, minimum wage, and or whatever. And I was out, playing gigs and getting $11 a gig or whatever, and that was But ironically, you say $50 and so forth. Now the pay for musicians still hasn't gone up a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I'm still making now what I made when I was 15 years old.
Yep, exactly. I know the feeling. I made more money back in the '80s, for Christ's sake, than you go out and do a gig now. My God, it's unbelievable. So
yeah, and the bar and restaurant owners think you're ripping them off.
Oh, I know. I get a situation. We have restaurant, owning the school here and so forth. I get occasionally I'll get restaurants say, "Hey, do you have any students or teachers that would want to come up and play for dinner music or something like that?" And I says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, how much would the gig pay?" Well, they would get such exposure to go from there. I says, "I tell you what," I says, "I have a dinner party coming up for next week for 25 people. Would you like to do it for me?" And it is like crickets on the other side for nothing,
Yeah, exactly.
Just think of the exposure that you're going to get and so forth. Wow.
Yeah, I love that exposure gigs.
And so forth. So what was your first band gig as far as that goes?
Oh, let's see. I just had a reunion actually with one of the first bands I played with called The Rhythm.
Okay.
And it was a gentleman named Jim Palermo that had a band called Gopher Brook.
Okay.
It was a little duo that he had, and he was looking to get more into a band situation.
Right.
So a good friend of mine, Sonny Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
From Ruby's.
Sure.
Was in the Middletown Symphonic Band with me.
Yep.
So my band director was a gentleman named Kurt Waybright.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And he kept saying, I was I think a junior in high school at the time.
Yep.
And he said that the Middletown Symphonic Band really needed drummers.
Okay.
So he offered to come to my house and pick me up to bring me to Middletown.
Well, didn't Sonny played with Jimmy Salonia there for
many
years.
Yeah, he
Jolly
had
Gents.
The Jolly Gents.
Yeah, okay, I remember that. My God, if we were doing weddings back in the late 70s, early 80s, we always got our clothes, our jackets and suits over at Regal's Men's Store.
Nice, yeah.
And so forth. And we were, you go out and we all had matching blazers and ties or whatever. So, certainly it's different today.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as that goes. But yeah, Sonny's been around for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was playing timpani with the symphonic band.
Okay.
And we just became friends, and he actually had me working at Ruby's for a long time.
Nice.
So I got to know Jimmy Salonia.
There you go.
Because he would come in for lunch all the time and breakfast. So
he had his little goatee.
Absolutely. So I knew... And a good friend of mine, John Morello, who's also a great drummer, phenomenal drummer, plays with just about everybody these days. But he worked for Jimmy at Regal's, and I worked for Sonny at Ruby's. So
that's right.
And we were really good friends, so that was pretty funny that we both got jobs, for Middletown musicians.
There you go.
Within a block of each other.
And I know... Jimmy did it, and I know with the Jolly Gents did quite a bit of club work, and so they used to play the Cabin Restaurant. They used to play all of the. Back then, there was actually entertainment.
Oh yeah,
and so
Sonny would tell me the stories that he would play the same place for 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah,
and they just have a contract and play the same lounge. They'd set up their stuff and rehearse.
Oh yeah,
at the place and get fed two meals a day.
Sure.
And you made a great living doing it.
Well, for years, I mean, I taught at the Harvard Conservatory, and I was, they used to call me the gigger. I played with, all of the Landerman groups, the Chubby Clark groups, all of the booking agencies, and so we used to do the circuits when they used to come into town. As far as that goes, and but yeah,
I think the Jolly Gents were a Paul Landerman band.
Yeah,
because he would always talk about Paul all the time, and Paul would stop in.
Yeah, and then you had the Archie D'Amatos that used to book the Lord Cromwells and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I've worked with Archie quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, ironically, do you remember when the night the Lord Cromwell burned?
Oh, yeah.
I was playing in the lounge.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
All the smoking, and it was like we had to get the stuff out of there, and, fortunately, we had a B3 organ. My keyboard player, Jerry Tadero, okay, we didn't have the dollies there and so forth. There was a couple of guys there. One of them was a steel worker. He was about 6 foot tall and about 4 foot wide.
Oh, wow.
And two of us got on one end of the organ, and he got the other end of the organ. We carried the organ out the front door. And
oh, wow.
As the place was filling up with smoke, it was like, oh, my God. Yeah.
Were you able to salvage all the equipment, hopefully?
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, we did.
Oh, good.
And so forth. But it was like a Chinese fire drill, literally getting everything out of there. It was crazy.
Ironically, I was rehearsing with the fife and drum corps while that fire was going on. So we used to practice at the Northwest School.
Okay.
Which was maybe a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, on West Street probably. Yeah.
Yeah. A quarter mile away.
Yeah.
So yeah, we saw the smoke and everything. So
yeah, it was quite the hot spot. So anyway.
Right. So how this all relates to my first band is Sonny introduced me to this gentleman, Jim Palermo.
Okay.
And then Jim kind of hooked me up with a couple different Middletown musicians. Nate Simmons.
Okay.
Who unfortunately just passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so we did some gigs with Nate around the area. And then we hooked up with this bass player, Mike Harris.
Okay.
And he had another gentleman, Rob Dano.
Okay.
That I think he got through the newspaper or something.
Right.
And then we put this band, The Rhythm, together.
Nice.
And then at the same time, some friends of mine from the Yukon area, my friend Mark Tveskoff, he had a roommate named Pete Gonda. And they were putting together a band called the Gus Factor.
Okay.
And then that band ended up doing quite a large number of gigs.
Okay.
For about a 7, maybe 8-year period of time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, all the way from the Yukon area all the way down to Norwalk.
Clubs, private parties, or both?
Yeah, pretty much everything. We started off as a Yukon bar band.
Okay.
And we're pretty popular. Mm-hmm. And then, we just kind of took off and started getting a whole bunch of gigs all over the state.
Right.
So one thing that we did, we entered a contest on WHCN.
Okay.
It was called The Next Best Thing.
Uh-huh.
And they had bands send in one original song. And then I guess they had over 500 submissions. Uh-huh. But they chose the top 20 songs.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the top 20.
Okay.
And then they played your song on the radio in a regular rotation.
Oh, nice.
And then they chose the top 10. We made it into the top 10. And then they had what was called the Final Four.
Yeah.
And through all this, they just kept playing our song in rotation.
Yeah.
And then the Final Four ended up being a live performance in Simsbury at a club called Gemini's.
All right.
And we didn't actually even know how popular we were at the time. We were kind of this Yukon bar band. And,
okay.
We had a lot of Yukon kids come to our gigs.
Sure.
But when we played this Gemini's thing, the place was packed with fans of ours.
Nice.
And we didn't know, so we ended up coming in third place, but our fans were not happy.
Oh, boy.
That we won, so they ended up creating a little bit of a riot.
Little ruckus there, huh? Oh, wow.
And, they unfortunately booed the band that won, and turned out to be a whole event. The woman that put it on at ACN was not happy with us, but
oh well,
we had no idea that we were that big. But
oh wow,
it was a pretty good feeling to hear all that many people rooting for us.
Absolutely. Now, was it pretty much a blues rock? What kind of stuff did you do?
Yeah, it was kind of bluesy rock kind of thing. Our song. It kind of had like a Spin Doctors kind of vibe to it, maybe. Uh-huh. So I guess they're kind of bluesy rock. Mm-hmm. But that's what the radio people were comparing us to, was kind of a Spin Doctors kind of a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but it was cool.
Well, that's all that counts, It's and like I say, the clubs back then. I mean, most all the clubs had entertainment, as far as that goes. So it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun hearing our song on the radio, but it definitely, my head in the clouds experience only lasted so long because I was driving with some good friends of mine were really into computers.
Yeah.
And our song came on the radio.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're talking about computers, and I'm like, hey, guys, that's me on the radio. And one guy turns it down so he can hear the other guy a little better. And I'm like,
what are you doing? That's my song.
That's us. We're on the radio.
We're on the radio.
Oh, good.
That's all right. Yeah, turn
Windows 10 is more important than your song or whatever version of Windows was back in that day.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So anyway, what was your first set of drums?
Oh, my first set of drums was a Japanese company that was basically a balsa wood set.
Okay.
And I think my mother actually got it at a tag sale, I believe.
Uh-huh.
So I remember it had a double bass drum.
Oh, wow.
It had 2 mounted toms, one on each bass drum.
Yeah.
And then a snare drum, no hi-hat.
Uh-huh.
And some really, really garbage cymbals.
Garbage can covers.
Yeah. It was a cymbal. It was a company called Krutz.
Okay.
But I heard that they make actually good cymbals, but the ones that I had were not their top of the line.
Right.
But they were kind of bent. You know, they weren't really cymbal shaped anymore. I think one of them was completely inside out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It almost looks like a China cymbal, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But eventually I got a hi-hat, and I upgraded to a Rogers snare drum. And
There you go. Wow.
And that poor drum set, I think it ended up getting trampled at a gig when I got a new kit.
Yep.
My band members kind of gave it to Keith Moon.
Oh, okay. There you go.
They smashed it on stage.
Nice. Light it on fire, smash it up. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I ended up getting a Sonar drum kit.
Uh-huh.
And I've kind of been a fan of Sonar ever since.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do play DW. I have a Gretsch kit. And I actually have 2 Sonar kits at the moment. So.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been accumulating a lot of cymbals and snare drums over the years.
Well, you know, that's the nature of the beast, you know. I
think
we're all
absolutely.
You know, you can never have enough drums. It's like you can never have enough guitars, you know. Yeah, this one, I like this one. I like the feel of this one. I like the sound of that one, you know, depending on the type of music you're going to play.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I just lucked into a really nice snare drum that a friend of mine is a lawyer. Really nice gentleman named Tony Fight, and he used to play years ago.
Okay.
And he had a law practice, and he was a great drummer, but his law practice kind of took over most of his time.
Really?
And he had this beautiful NobleCooley snare drum that he said he bought because he played on my NobleCooley snare drum and loved it so much that he went out and got one of his own, but it sat in his basement for a very long time collecting dust.
Right.
And then I finally ran into him after a bunch of years, and he said, you got to take this drum off my hands. He goes, I'm not going to play it, and it really is such a great drum. It needs to be played.
Yeah.
So he just gifted me this really beautiful NobleCooley snare drum.
Nice.
So that doesn't happen very often, but...
Well, NobleCooley, I remember Bob Gatson at Creative Music. Okay, he was a big NobleCooley
yeah,
shop
absolutely.
up there, as far as that goes, you know.
Yeah, he helped design some of their drums.
Yep. Yeah.
And my NobleCooley, the first NobleCooley that I had, I bought from Bob.
Okay.
Up there.
Nice. You know, I think, Bob is, he was the drum guy for the longest time.
Absolutely.
I don't think Bob isn't doing that well right now. I think health-wise, but he was. I don't know if you remember. He designed the original drum frame. I don't know if you remember that. That
absolutely.
Was the rocket ship seat.
Yeah.
Laid back, and you're almost sitting there playing drums reclined. You know.
I tried that one time, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste for sure. So.
Yeah, it was weird, you know, because you're tilted back, and it's. You know, your arms don't move the same way.
Well, no. You're on a different angle. And
absolutely.
As far as that, yeah.
So you don't have gravity working for you quite the same way.
Absolutely. No, I know. Yeah, go from there. But, yeah.
Actually, when Bob had his music store there, that's one of my other drum teachers. I took lessons, creative music, from Gene Bosey.
Oh, Gene, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gene's been around. In fact, his brother Paul played with me for years, and so forth. But yeah, Paul played in our wedding band for many, many, many years.
Yeah, Paul and I are good friends.
Yeah, and I think he's I think he's over at Choate now. I think is he still over
absolutely.
there?
He's in the AV department over there.
Yeah, because I think he sold his house in East Hampton. I think they moved him into a house on campus over there.
They did move into a house on campus, but then he just bought another house over the summer at a lake.
Oh, really?
At Lake
Pocatapoc in there. Back in East Hampton. Okay, I know, and because I know him and Valerie and of course Sal D'Alessandro has played with them. They have the
Moto.
The Moto, which is the kind of the reggae group.
Yeah, absolutely. Great band.
Yeah. So nice stuff.
So Paul is still living at Choate, and I guess he's planning on retiring pretty soon, so he wanted to have a house to move into because he can only stay at Choate
while he's there
while he's working in the faculty. So, but as a matter of fact, Paul and I played together a little bit with the Michael Cleary band.
Oh yeah.
So Paul was the percussionist, pretty much through the whole time the band was around, while the Corvo brothers were still in the band.
Yeah.
And
now, were you after Johnny? Is that
no? So what I ended up doing was Paul wanted to take a little break he wanted to take about a year off.
Yeah.
So he just asked me if I would fill in for him while he took some time off.
Okay.
But I think by the second or third gig, he was missing it. So he just said, hey, you mind if I come to this gig, or you mind if I came to this gig? So we actually ended up playing together quite a bit.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I remember one particular gig we played at Arch Street Tavern up in Hartford.
Yep.
And it was actually Paul and Gene Bosey and myself all played together. So that was a pretty interesting story. And that was about the only time. I think that's the only time I ever got to play with Gene Bosey. But that was definitely a lot of fun. So we added a lot of Latin flavor, because that's Gene's forte, is Latin music.
Well, Gene for years. In fact, I think he still does a lot of the work at Goodspeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a phenomenal jazz drummer, but at the time he had a band called Samba Brazil.
Yep.
So he was really focusing on his Latin jazz chops.
Nice. I think Gene played down there, but then doing a lot of the gigs at Goodspeed, because I taught at the conservatory, and Rick Rossi and Gene and all those guys who were out of that group and so forth. But they did a lot of work. Good players. And Gene also played. He did some work with the symphony too.
Yeah.
As far as that, because when my son was started drums, and he was auditioning for Berkeley. Okay, in fact, Peter Lepak used to play with me also, and
nice.
Pete set my son up with his dad to work on one of his timpani pieces to audition up at Berkeley.
Oh, so nice!
You can't have a better tutor than the guy that wrote the piece.
Yeah, definitely. That's great.
So it worked out. But yeah, I mean, very, very talented family. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'll he's a legend.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Truly, and Peter's a great drummer too.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No, absolutely. And just very, very accommodating, and just play any type of music.
Yeah, absolutely, and very nice family too.
Yes, absolutely. So, anyway, style wise, what music are you into?
My taste is so varied that I don't have a favorite style of music.
Okay.
It probably depends on the mood that I'm in. But I mean, I listen to everything basically.
Okay.
Except maybe death metal.
Yeah.
And
the goth stuff.
I don't listen to a lot of electronic music. I'm not a big fan of electronic drums.
Yep.
But I don't discredit electronic drums.
No, well.
But I prefer to hear a drummer playing on acoustic drums.
Yeah. I mean, electronic drums have come a long way since their inception, but by the same token, you don't get the feel that you do on the acoustic drums, the repercussion, the bounce.
Oh, absolutely.
And so forth. Yeah,
and I like to listen to a lot of world music, from all over.
Okay.
So I was really into all different kinds of African music and percussion and Middle Eastern music. Okay. And I actually had a really nice experience back in 1998. Uh-huh. I did a little military tour with a country band, and we kind of traveled all around the Mediterranean, and we visited Israel and Egypt and Jordan and Egypt, Italy, Greece, and Spain.
Really?
Yeah. So
what branch of the service?
It was basically all the different branches of the service. We were just working for the Department of Defense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we played on some Air Force bases, some Navy bases, nice. Even did some U.S. embassies around.
Nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I got to experience a lot of different regional music on that tour, which was great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell us, there's the world is rich in types of music and the genres that are out there. It's amazing. Different vibes, different feels, and different grooves, and that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, yeah, that's great. Now, as far as the one of the questions that John always asks, okay, are you a consistent practicer of your instrument?
Absolutely. I definitely believe in picking up the sticks and playing every single day.
That's good.
And if I don't, I think I feel a little stir crazy.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, I think at the beginning of COVID, when I stopped being able to play on a regular basis, the only thing I could do was play on a pad in my apartment.
Okay.
And so if I did anything with my feet, my downstairs neighbors would complain.
Uh-huh.
So I was only able to practice with my hands, and I think maybe the second week in, I was actually starting to feel my legs from not using them. I play pretty much every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So after you do something every single day and you stop doing it for a couple months,
sure.
I was starting to get tingling in my legs, and it almost felt like restless leg syndrome or something. But
it's just like going to the gym. It's a workout.
Yeah, exactly.
When you get out of your routine and so forth, and then jump back into it, you have to build up the muscle tone and build up the chops, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So after not using those muscles, after using them pretty much every day for 40 some odd years.
Right.
That was unusual. So that was a weird part of COVID, was not being able to really practice the full drum kit.
Yeah. As far as that. Now, do you keep a drum kit set up in your apartment at all, or?
No, I don't have a big enough apartment to set up a kit.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I do have a studio where I teach in Middletown, and there's 2 electronic kits set up there.
Okay. Nice.
So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you just joined our faculty this past year, so we welcome you aboard, and that's great. I think it gives a whole lot of diversity and different styles as far as that goes. So we certainly welcome you here to the faculty.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate being here.
Done a great job, and we're working from there.
Yeah, you got a great crew of teachers here.
Well, I think it's a team effort, and like I say, a lot of the teachers that I've had here or have had for quite a long time. Ed's been here. God, I think 26, 28 years or something like that. And, speaking of Ed, you're playing with the Ed Macenti group this weekend at the Portland Golf Course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from 6 to 9.
That should be a fun time. Now,
yeah, with one of your other teachers as well.
Yeah, Dan Hollenbeck. Yeah. Dan was actually the guest of our actual John's first podcast.
Really?
This is actually, I think this is our 40th episode of John's podcast.
Oh, wow.
And we do it pretty much every Tuesday night. And Dan was the first guest that we had, and that was we're almost coming up on a year now.
Wow.
So which is cool. So
nice. Yeah, we also have Neil Hatcher joining us on bass.
Yep. Neil's been around a long time in the Middletown area, and just a funky bass player, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And Neil also teaches here, as far as that goes. And
nice.
He does a great job. So, what are some of the things, the types of music that you're going to be mostly instrumental stuff that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, it's kind of Ed kind of bases it on like a soul jazz.
Yep.
Kind of like Grant Green.
Yep.
60s, early 70s.
Yep.
Kind of stuff, but we do some more modern stuff. So, but he does a lot of instrumental versions of some popular tunes, but he also is very prolific songwriter as well.
Yeah, he's done some really cool original stuff as far as that goes.
Yeah, so I think almost half the material is probably Ed's original stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Nice.
which is great.
He really works hard on that. He just that gets his juices flowing. When he starts to come up with and like I say, he's been here many years, and listening to him in the studio to play, and he'll start off with one line, and then all of a sudden that one line expands into a verse, and then then a bridge, and then what do you think of it? And the groove will change. Okay, what do you think about and so forth. But he does some really cool stuff. So
absolutely. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun playing with him.
That's great. That's great. Well, at the Portland Golf Course, then that's going to be from 6 to 9?
6 to 9, yes.
That's out on Bartlett Street here in Portland, and they've done a nice job out there. They've started to bring in a little bit of entertainment. They put a nice patio out there, so now, of course, with the COVID thing, I think all of the restaurants took a big hit, and a lot of them, went to outside dining and so forth, which, otherwise they're kind of suffering, as far as that goes. But everybody kind of had to make accommodations,
Yeah, absolutely.
Including here, we had to put up the plexiglass partitions and the masks, and the disinfection of the studios, and all of that kind of stuff. But like I say, everybody kind of suffered, go from there. But getting back to playing, as far as that goes, what do you got coming up in the future that you're working on?
So in addition to playing with Ed, I also play with a band called the Groove Section.
Okay.
And it's run by a gentleman named Tony DeLisio.
Oh, okay.
He's a great bass player and vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Randy Ball on guitar, but we have quite a few guitar players that play with us on a regular basis because Randy's day job involves some traveling.
Oh, okay.
So, and another gentleman on keyboard and vocalist, Dan McNamara.
Oh, okay.
Who's also a great sax player, too.
Okay. Wow.
So very, very talented group of guys.
Yeah, now pretty much local musicians as far as I...
Yeah, pretty much. Weathersfield area, Hartford area.
Nice.
And we're going to be playing at a Sicily coal-fired pizza on December 18th.
Okay.
And that, I think, is from 8 to 11.
Yeah. For us old Middletownites, that's the old Camps building.
Yeah, exactly.
Upstairs.
One of the many things that it's been over the past 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, it used to be the firehouse. It used to, oh, my God.
It was so many different things for years, but I wish the guy luck. I think he's done a good job. He put a lot of money in it, and it looks great in there. The food is great, so
good.
I think he'll have some success in there, and we'll finally have a place that's in there for quite a while.
That's good. Well, that's the thing. The restaurant business, especially through these COVID times, it's you're just hanging on. You're trying to get as many turns as you can as far as in relation to dinners, and especially with the limited seating and so forth, that hampers you. And the other thing that is hampering everybody is everybody can't get help now. I mean,
absolutely.
It's. I know we have our local little restaurant up here, Malili's, and he's been having trouble getting help and so forth, and been shortening his hours, to accommodate. So, but it is tough. It is tough. So anyway, so getting down to back to music, and one of John's other questions. Okay, what's your desert island album, if you would? that you would listen to?
In all honesty, I don't think I would have a desert island album.
Okay.
Because there's even my favorite music.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that to be the only thing that I could listen to every day.
So, if you had to pick a half a dozen albums, what do you think would be on the top 10 list?
Once again, I don't have any superlatives. It depends on the day, and some days I want to put the Beatles on. Some days I want to put Miles Davis on.
Oh, okay.
I might want to listen to some Ravi Shankar one day. I might want to listen to Brahms another day, or
Okay.
So
very diverse. Very
absolutely.
Diverse. So it's well, they always say the variety in your diet, so to speak, is good. That way you have a balanced musical diet.
I encourage all of my students to listen to as many styles of music as possible, and I'm surprised that I have some young students that are really into jazz.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they like to play swing beats and they like to listen to jazz.
So getting back to students, how did your teaching come about?
So it kind of started just at gigs, people coming up to me and asking if I gave lessons.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I started, I was living in a house at the time, renting a house, and had a nice basement that I could set up a studio in.
Yeah.
So I just started teaching out of my house. And then I was good friends with a gentleman named Mike Goodrow, who has Ace Audio.
Mike and I are real good friends.
Yeah.
I work with Mike a lot.
Mike is probably one of the top soundmen in the entire region.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, just incredibly knowledgeable.
Yes, and in fact, Mike and I, we just put a wireless mic system in Portland High School. So we worked a whole day putting that thing in and so forth. And I kind of cajole with Mike and so forth. Mike he's a gear junkie.
Nice.
So he always is in looking at the latest gear and these speakers and that speakers and so forth. And so I always kid him sometimes. He has a gas attack, and so we talk about a gas attack. That to Mike is a gear acquisition syndrome.
Nice. That's funny. Yeah, he's accumulated a lot of gear over the years.
Yes, he has. Yes,
and
he has.
So he had a shop in East Hampton for a while, Ace Music.
Ace Music, yeah.
So I taught at Ace Music, and of course that for him was the greatest situation because he could just buy all the gear he wants and then just use it as inventory,
or
use it on his gigs and then bring it in as inventory.
Yeah, no, that's it. And he still developed all those connections as far as that goes. And in fact, Mike and I went to he was out to the NAMM show. I finally convinced him to go out to the NAMM show, and it was about 3 years ago. Of course, last year they didn't have it because of COVID, and this year the NAMM show is actually, which is normally in January. Okay, they moved to June, so they're combining the summer and the winter shows. But Mike, he took on a new line of speakers called TW speakers, which are a German speaker, and he ended up buying quite a bit of TW stuff, and so they invited him out to the NAMM show to come out and look at the new stuff. So
great.
Yeah, Mike is great, but Mike's also into raising fish. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Yeah, he in fact that was one of the things that got him through the COVID thing. He raises tropical fish.
Wow.
Because I mean, when the COVID thing hit, the gigs, I mean, just there was no sound gigs at all, and he was
right.
Sitting around. So he always has been raising tropical fish. He says that was paying the rent there for a while.
Nice.
To go from there. But
Mike's also an incredible drummer.
Yes, and he plays classical guitar too, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great guy. He really is.
Yeah, definitely.
And as far as sound goes, he is an engineer that he knows what it's all about.
Absolutely. If I go to a gig and I see Mike Woodrow's there. I know we're going to have phenomenal sound.
Yep.
And it's going to be a really easy gig.
Yep. Well, some, that's the one thing, I mean, it's when you're in a band and so forth, one thing you don't want to do is piss off the sound guy.
No, definitely.
Because that'll come back to haunt you in spades.
Yeah, just over this past summer, I worked with a sound guy that was in a really terrible mood.
Yeah.
As soon as we showed up, actually he was in a bad mood before anybody in the band got there.
Yeah, yeah.
But he just, one guy can make a entire gig.
Oh yeah, makes you or breaks you.
Yeah, he can. There was a lot of tension there.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. You get to a point where it's all a team effort, and if the team isn't all working together, then it can be a real long night.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike is definitely one of the most professional guys I've ever worked with.
Yep. No, and his crew is Rembo or Bryan is one of his sound guy, and Steve obviously is his monitor guy. And, and Steve is now I think Steve is retired from the post office, but I think he got another gig. He's doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's keeping busy. But they do quite a bit of work. They really do. And fortunately, thankfully the gigs are picking up, and he's not doing as a lot of the bigger gigs and so forth, but he says he's doing a fair amount of the smaller stuff. I mean, he does quite a bit for Wesleyan University.
Yeah, nice.
The football games and so forth. So yeah.
And actually, Paul Bosey did work for Mike Woodrow for a while.
Yep.
And I played in a 70s disco band called the All-Star Dynamite Disco Review.
Yep.
And Paul did sound for us on quite a few occasions.
Yeah. And I think Paul's son Alex did some stuff for him too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I worked with, we used to do some video for, Mike always has done the sound for East Hampton High School's graduation. And I helped him out one year because they hired me to do video and so forth to stream it. And but I think Alex was doing the sound there one year. So yeah, that was a lot of years, a lot of guys out there for sure. So,
yeah, most definitely.
So anyway, well, that's good. I think from a standpoint of, hopefully we can start turning the corner on this COVID, and we can get things back to normal. And of course, it's still the jury's out on what this Omicron virus is going to do. But they say it's not as
severe.
It's highly more. I guess it's more transmissible, but it's not as severe. So which
right.
I guess is a good thing in one way and bad thing in another way, whatever. So anyway, but that's cool. Anyway, what else you got to cover?
One other gig that I'm doing these days is a duo.
Okay.
Called Goodfellas Duo.
Uh-huh.
And that's a guy, Leo Boogie.
Okay.
Who plays piano and sings, and I've been playing alongside of him.
Nice.
And so I think we have a gig in Middletown coming up on the 23rd of December.
Okay.
At the old Tommy's Pizza. It's now called Mediterranean Flavors.
That's on what, Randolph Road there?
That's on Saybrook Road. Saybrook Road and Randolph Road.
Okay, yeah, wow.
So, and I think that's also 6 to 9 or maybe 7 to 10. I'm not sure of the hours of that one.
And what kind of music do you do with him?
He does mostly 50s through 70s pop music.
Okay. All right.
So a lot of Dion and the Belmonts.
Nice.
All that kind of stuff. But,
the doo-wop stuff.
Doo-wop stuff. But he also does some Elvis and, some Frank Sinatra.
Nice.
So he calls it the Goodfellas music.
There you go. Well, hey, there's a lot to be said for Goodfellas music. I think
absolutely.
The types of music. I mean, in the older music, the classic stuff. I mean, it's, there's longevity there.
Right.
Some of the new music today, not that it's good, bad, or indifferent, but you don't see the staying power these days. That the stuff back in the 70s and 80s and stuff, it's still being played. Whether it's rhythm, whether it's blues, or whether it's funk, or whether it's Motown. I mean, there's classic songs, classic artists that are always live on.
What amazes me is not only the age group of people that know the songs that we're playing. But we had some girls from Spain that were doing a semester at Wesleyan.
Really?
That saw us over Sicily.
Uh-huh.
And they both knew the words to about half the songs that we were playing.
See? There you go.
And, you know, they're probably 19, 20 years old.
See? There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But singing along with all that stuff. And
there you go. I rest my case. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prime example. So.
Yeah, and we had some kids probably in their early 20s at one of our gigs.
Really?
That wanted to pay us to keep playing. But unfortunately, the bar...
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't go along with the rules.
Right. But they love the material, so...
For sure. So anyway, all right. Well, Bryan, I appreciate you coming over and sharing your musical journey story with us and so forth. And again, you're over here. You're in on Thursday nights, okay? And so anybody wanting to jump in and take some drum lessons with you, feel free to give us a call, and we'll set you up with Bryan. And again, he has the expertise and the patience to get you playing, to go from there. So anyway, all right, Bryan, thanks so much for coming over, and that about wraps it up. And we'll probably do this again. And again, our condolences go out to John and his family on the passing of his mother-in-law, and we will hold down the fort here, and hopefully he'll be back next week and keep things going to go from there. But so that about wraps it up on the John Peckman Podcast. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, this is the John Peckman Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kuzminski, filling in for John tonight with our host, Mr. Bryan Caudle. So, Bryan, thanks so much for coming over. And as John says at the end of his podcast, that is all. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at ConnValley.net/podcast.